Of Tess Amid Bays, 29b. Right in the middle. Yeah, the first word is Adam. So, Jules, you asked yesterday, why would you write down a document if you already admitted, right?
Yeah.
When it's written down, the guy gets a lien on his property, which you wouldn't have if it's only oral.
Yeah.
That's one difference. Another difference would be you can always use it as proof. It's always there against the person.
If the other party writes it down, it seems like.
Well, the witness would write it down, or the bezdin would write it down.
Okay, that would make me.
Yeah. The guy himself's not going to write it down, right? Okay, so Adabar Avaha Odisa. This admission document, Zimnin Kasvinon, Vizimnin Lo Kasvinon. Sometimes you write it down, and sometimes you do not write it down. When yeah, when no. Knifi v'yasvi lo kasvinon. When you happen to have three people there, they gathered on their own. So then that's not going to be enough to write it down. But kanfayu iu, if he gathered them together, then kasvinon, then they have like a status of a bezdin. You write it down. Rava Amar afilu kanfayu iu lo kasvinon. Just because you gathered up three people doesn't mean you write it down until you say Adamar Lahu Havelai Dayani. Until you say you are my judges, and then you can write it down. Mar Bravashi Amar Afilu Amar Havelai Dayani Lo Kasvinan. Oh, we did this yesterday. Sorry. Until you go and you send them to a court. It has to be officially done in a court. Then you can write it down. So let's say a guy admitted Hoduba metaltali. So metaltali means movable objects. Rashi seems to say it refers to like money. A guy admits he owes somebody money. The kanu miyado, and he makes an acquisition, formalizing his admission. Kosvin, then you write it down. V'im lav ain't kosvin. However, b'karkoi below kanu miyado nai. What about by land? By land, when you admit to land and you do not make an acquisition, so then what's the halacha? Now. Yeah, let's see. Amemar Amar ain't kosvin. You don't need to write it down. You don't write it down. Marzucha Amar kosvin. You do write it down, even though you didn't do a formal acquisition by karka, but you do write it down. Now, I believe that there's a big difference. Let's see for a second. The halacha is that you do write down. If a guy admits to land, even without doing a formal acquisition, you still write it down. Right. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but now you have the authority to. See, land is here. Land's not going anywhere. So when you admit to owning land, you've now transferred ownership in the land. If you admit in front of people, I own the house. That house that's over there, it actually belongs to you. So then it's transferred right away. Money we assume is never the same money that's here today is here tomorrow. It's much more of a debt. Right? We're not looking at your $20 bill you got yesterday. We assume once you give money as a loan, so then that money's gone. It's spent. So when it comes to metaltalin, it comes to money, so then it's you're not transferring ownership, you're really admitting to it, and now he has a way to remove the money from you. So Ravina Ikla L'Demaharia, and so Ravina traveled to a place L'Demaharia. Amr Le Rav Dimi Bar Ravhuna L'Demaharia L'Ravina. So there Rav Dimi, the son of Rav Huna from Maharia, said to Ravina, Metaltali ve'isnu be'einayu. So you have the money, or you have the movables, and they're here. The same ones that were borrowed are here. My Amarle kimikarkaidamu. Then that's like land. Just like land is here, the same land you borrowed, you rented, you bought is here. So the money that was lent or given over, if that's here, that's just like land. And therefore, if you admit to it, even without a formal acquisition, it's going to be transferred. Ravashi over no. At the end of the day, the money is lacking collections. You have to go and collect it. It's not so simple that just, wherever it is, it now belongs to you. You have to. So that's going to require more. That's going to require a formal acquisition. Yeah. Yeah. On that, you'll have to have the document to go and get it out. Hahio disa de lohavi kasabe. Hahio disa de lohavi kasaba. So there was this document that two people signed on. De lohavi kasaba. Amar lana kasu v'chasmu v'havale. So it was signed by two witnesses, but it never said we wrote it and signed it and gave it over. But it did have two witnesses on it. So what's the halacha? Abai v'Rav Amri Travayu, that's like Reish Lakish. Hainu de Reish Lakish. Who's Reish Lakish? What did he say? Dam Reish Lakish. Chazaka eina edim chos malashtal imke na'aseh gadol. The same way you have a document signed by two people, and you want to know, were there children or adults? We have an assumption that children don't sign documents, adults sign documents. So similarly over here, if you have a document signed by two witnesses, we assume that there was that it was signed and given over properly. It wasn't just signed by two witnesses, improperly. So even though the document didn't say, the document didn't say he told us two witnesses to sign the document like we had earlier. We have to appoint the witnesses, but still we assume when two witnesses are signing the document, it happened as a result of Reuven told Shimon, "You are my witnesses. Sign. I owe money. Please sign." So that same assumption, the same assumption that holds true by assuming that it was signed by adults, will apply here also. Maskil probably everything Ravuna Breder of Shua. Mi kamidi. Is there really such a thing? Mi kamidi the anon lo yadinon, v'safri de bedina yadi. So he argues and says, who says the scribes know these halachas? That the guy has to tell you are my witnesses. Meaning you're making an assumption over here, and therefore a presumption that whenever you find this document, of course Reuven told the witnesses first, you guys are my witnesses, and then they signed. But who says scribes know all these halachas? So maybe you can't make such a presumption. On that we say, it's not true. Sha'ilnu l'sifrei de Abaye. We asked Abaye scribes. They knew this halacha that you have to say you are my witnesses, and then you can write it down. V'yadi, l'safri de Rava, v'yadi. So the presumption holds true. The scribes seem to be pretty knowledgeable, and therefore they know this halacha. Hahi odisa the havukasav bay. There was a certain admission document, and it said, kasav bay duchrin piskame. So it was written down more as like a, not in the form of an admission, but more of like a diary, like to just remember the facts. Just a record of words, yeah. Duchrin piskame. So duchrin, a certain place. These things happened. The whole lishnei de beidina, and it was written down in all the words that a court would use. But it didn't say that it wasn't signed by three witnesses. So it only had two signatures on it, and it didn't say on it b'mosef tlata have havina. Meaning, it sounds like it was all the words as if you were in a court. It was only signed by two, and it didn't say that really this took place in front of three people. Only two were able to sign. One's not here anymore. It didn't say that. So how do you view such a document? So Savar Ravina Lameimer Hainu de Reish Lakish. Ravina said, "This is like Reish Lakish. We can assume that if it had the words of the Beis Din on it, and it looked like a court document, we could assume that a court wouldn't sign, unless it for sure happened in front of three people. So just so it's signed by two, but it must be that it really took place in front of three." So Amr Le Rav Nasan Bar Ami, anything of such sorts, of this sort, were worried for a Beis Din maybe made a mistake. So we don't assume like Reish Lakish, it should be fine. No, maybe the Beis Din made a mistake, and therefore it's not going to be valid. So Al Rav Nachman it's like Ikasav ba Beidina. If it said in it the words Beidina, a court, so then Sulo Tzarech. Then you're good to go. You don't have to worry about it. Once it said those words, that's already an affirmation that it really was a court. Says the Gemara, who says V'dilma Beis Din Chatzuf. So we know that Shmuel says that two people could be considered a court. even though they're called a brazen court. Damer Shmuel Shnaim Shadanu Dinaim Din Elash Nigur Brazen Chatzuf. Two people are called the court, even though they're called a brazen court, and we don't hold of Shmuel. So just as it says Bezdin, maybe they made a mistake and they thought the halacha was like Shmuel, that really in front of two people would be considered a good Bezdin. But we don't hold of Shmuel. Shmuel gets rejected. So we say, no, you're right. The Kasav Bay, it says the Kasav Bay, Beidina de Rabbana Ashi. It was the Bezdin of the court of Rav Ashi. So it sounds like it said on it was the Bezdin of our Rabbi Rav Ashi. So we see it's not like Shmuel. So maybe that's fine. But maybe not so fast. Dilma Rabban de Rav Ashi Shmuel Sfirlu. Maybe that court of Rav Ashi, that they go like Shmuel, and only two people is enough to be considered a court, and therefore the fact that your document says the court of Rav Ashi doesn't show us that we don't go like Shmuel. Maybe it's Shmuel. Maybe they made a mistake, and therefore it's not a valid document. And that we say no. It says the Kasav Bo, the Omar Lon Ravana Ashi. It sounds like it says on it that Rav Ashi told us to write it this way. Sounds like he told us to write it down. So now, the fact that he told us to write it down, it's assumed that that he wouldn't tell us to do something that's not according to halacha. So if it just says it's in the court of Rav Ashi, okay, so who knows what that is? But if he told us to write it down, we're assuming that he goes not like Shmuel, because the halacha is not like Shmuel. Yeah. Rashi points out, why are we picking on Rav Ashi out of all the people? Like, pick on Steibers, Moravitzes. I mean, why Rav Ashi? He says, because Rav Ashi came at the end. Him and Rabbeinu and Rav Ashi wrote down the Gemara, and he was the head of the court there. So when the Gemara was being compiled by Rabbeinu and Rav Ashi, so we chose the name Rav Ashi. Okay. Tana Rabbana, next Bryce. Amar Lan Echad Ani Reis. So now a whole slew of stories on what happened. A guy comes and says, Amar Lahan. A guy goes and tells the inheritors, Amar Lahan Echad. So one guy comes and says, Ani Reisi Avichan, I saw your father, Shehit min Maos. He hid money, Be Sheda Teva Umigdal. Different kinds of chests. I don't know exactly the difference between all of them. But they're all different kinds of chests that you open up and you hide stuff in, or you store stuff in. So yeah, the Amar. So I saw your father put the money in there. The Amar, and the father told me it's Shel Plonihin. Your father said it belongs to Jim. So, or maybe he said it's Shel Meiser Sheni Hain. Maybe he said it's Meiser Sheni money. So now, halacha is as follows: Bibayis. If this guy tells me that the money was hidden in my house, so Reuven tells Shimon, in your father's house, he hid money in his house. So then Lo Amar Klum, because the witness has no access to the money. Like, why should you believe him? If you want to take money out of somebody, you need to have two witnesses. One guy's saying, by the way, behind your closet, I saw $100 over there. Like, okay. So we say goodbye. But Besadeh, if the guy hid the money in the field, in the open field, where this witness himself could have taken the money, so then we say, why would he lie? If he wanted to lie, he could have just taken the money himself. The fact that he could have taken the money and admits that it's your father's, then we take him seriously. So then, Devar of Kayamin. So, Klalo Shel Davar, the rule of thumb is, Kol Shabiyado Litlan Devarim Kayamin, Amy Litlan Lo Amar Klum. If he could have taken the money himself, then his word holds water, we believe him. If he could not have taken it himself, then Lo Amar Klum. I'm assuming, just speaking it out, that when money's in someone else's property, you need to take two witnesses to get it out of the property. When the money's in the field, right? So, and I'm just saying it does belong to you. So I'm not taking money out of your hands. I'm not taking it from somebody else. I'm just confirming that the money is really yours. So to do that, one witness is enough. But to say the money, to remove money, so meaning this guy, this one witness that doesn't really have an opinion if it's in someone else's house, because he can never really take money out of someone else's house. That you need two witnesses for. So therefore, we don't believe him. Like, why should we believe him? But especially if it's Meister Sheni money, now the guy has to go up to Yerushalayim to redeem his money. But if the money himself he could have taken, so then he holds much more water because what do you want to say? He's lying. Why should he lie? He could have taken the money himself. So therefore we do believe him. Okay. So now, yeah. Okay. Next case is Harei Shaya Mitztair al Maos Shehiniach La'aviv. No, I skipped, right? Yeah. No, I didn't skip. I did skip. 1 second. Yeah. Harei Sharoa Savian Shehitman Maos B'Shet Teva Migdal. So if the guy said, I saw your father hide money in one of these chests, so Ba'amar shall Ploni Hein or shall Meiser Sheni, it belongs to Joe or it belongs to Meiser Sheni. So now, Moser Dvarov Kayamin. Im Kimarim Lo Omar Klum. If you see that he's really saying it over, honestly, so then you're going to believe the guy. But if you see the guy is trying to make some kind of trick that 1 second. This is the father himself, no? When he was dying?
Sons, so they father.
What?
They said the sons, so they father had it.
Right. The sons themselves, right, sorry, not someone else. That's what it is. The sons themselves saw their father hiding money. They're coming, they say, we saw our father hide money in one of these chests. And the father told us it belongs to Ploni, or it's money of Meiser Sheni Hain. So now, if they look like they're really being honest, Im Kimoser Dvarav, then Kayamin. Then Im Kimoser, then Dvarav Kayamin. Then their words are valid. But Im Kimarm, if you see that they're trying to just make a trick, so why would they make a trick if they're making it seem like their father really told them that in a very honest way, so then it's fine. Then they're believed. But they're making a trick. Maybe they don't want people to think that they're rich people. So they're coming to say, yeah, our father has money that belongs to so and so. So meaning our father owes money. So they're trying to make themselves seem not so rich. So then we don't believe them. Lo Amar Klum. Okay. A third case, a person is very distraught over the money. It's an interesting case. He knows his father left money somewhere, but he can't figure out where it is. So what happens? Uba balachalom. So now a dreamer comes to him, someone who's I guess dreams a lot or had a dream now, and he tells him the money's down the street behind the mailbox in a box over there. That's where the money is. Or Hein Shel Meiser Sheni, so maybe, or someone's money's over there, or it's Meiser Sheni money over there. So, and then what happened? Zehaya Maisa. He goes and he finds the money, exactly like the dreamer was saying. So what happens? Halacha is v'amru divrei chalomos lo ma'alin v'lo mordin. So the divrei chalomos is not going to help you, and it's not going to hurt you.
People hiding money. So they just do it.
Right, I guess. Maybe the house and house are good hiding spots.
Huh?
The house and house are good hiding spots. I don't know. Small houses. So this is not going to help you and it's not going to hurt you. So it's not going to hurt you. So you can go take it. Right. So, but we're not going to assume it's all of a sudden Meiser Sheni money. You have to go and bring it up to Yerushalayim, because every dream has some truth usually and a lot of falseness to it. So therefore we don't believe every single word in the dream. But yeah, you can go and take the money. That's fine. Okay. So two judges say, what is it?
No, judges.
Oh, so two judges say a guy's innocent, and one judge says he's guilty. Two judges say he's guilty. One guy says he's innocent. And now they want this to be written down in writing. I don't know if you have to write down in writing, but they want it to be written down in writing. So always helps. So Michtav Heichi Kasvi. How should you write it down? So this is interesting. A whole debate how to write down, and then we're going to figure out why it matters how you write it down. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zakai, Reish Lakish Amar Plon. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zakai. All you have to write down is this guy's innocent, or this guy is absolved of paying money. Reish Lakish Amar, no, you have to write down Ploni uploni mazakin uploni mechayev. You have to write down Judge so and Judge so said he owes money, and the third judge so he says that he's absolved from paying money. He's exempt. So now Rabbi Elazar Amar, a third opinion, midivrehen nizdacha ploni. From all of their words, Reuben's innocent. Reuben doesn't have to pay. So three forms of writing it down. Just the one word, this guy's innocent, or you specify each judge guilty, guilty, innocent, or you just make it one general. From all of their words together, he came out to be innocent. Says the Gemara, my beinayu, like who cares? What's the difference? Or like that. At the end of the day, all three of them say Reuben does not have to pay, Shimon does have to pay, or whatever the case is. So says the Gemara, a few potential attempts. So Ike beinayu, maybe the first reason why it matters how you write it down is Lishlume Ihu Manta Behadayu. Let's say the guy ended up making a mistake. The judge erred. Yeah, the judge made a mistake, and really the guy, the guy did have to pay. So he was supposed to pay Shimon money. You ruled it's innocent. Turns out you made a mistake, and now you have to compensate. So now Dilamandam or Zakai. If according to the first opinion, Reish Lakish, it just says he's innocent, so then Mishalim, then everyone has to pay. Everyone has to pay money. So let's say two of the judges made a mistake, and let's say two of the judges that said he has to pay, so they made a mistake, and really he doesn't have to pay. So now, so if you just write the word Zakai, so then what happens is you're making the whole bezin just one big unit, right? He's innocent. So now it was written down. It sounds like all three judges are all the same in their opinion. So they're all going to have to pay, even though only two made a mistake and one was right. But because the word Zakai sounds like everyone's equal, so even the third guy has to pay. We'll see what the logic is in a second. Lemandam or ploni mezakin ploni mechayvin lo mishalim. If it says this guy and this guy's said the guy was guilty and they made a mistake, so only those two judges have to pay. The third guy, it's written on the star, I never made the mistake. So if I never made the mistake, I'm not paying. And ulama, so now, between those two opinions, let's see. Ulama and Amar Zakai Mishalim, says the Gemara, according to the first opinion that just says Zakai, Reuben's innocent. He does not need to pay. And then it comes out that he made a mistake that he does have to pay. So now they're gonna owe Shimon money. So why should the third guy have to pay? So Lemalahu, so he could tell the other two, Ilididi Taisinon. So Osunami lo Shalmisun. If you would have listened to me, then none of you would be paying. So why am I paying? I'm not paying. So that's rejected. That logic is good, and that would be rejected. Presumably that their argument back originally said, listen, if not for you as the third judge, we also would not have to pay. So like we're all in this together, you agreed to be with us, and now you have to pay. But he responds to them, you should listen to me. It's always that guy, right? You should listen to me. So Ella Ika Beinayu. So really, Lishlume Inhu Manta Dide. So now, let's say the two that made. So let's say, so now we're saying no. Another difference is to pay the third guy's portion. Does the third guy have to pay? It's very similar to what we just said, right? So let's see. Yeah, do the two judges have to pay the third judge for the third judge? In the first case, the first nafkamina was, does the third judge himself have to pay? But now we're saying, do the two need to pay for the third judge? So the Gemara says, Lemandam or Zakai Mishalmi. And it says innocent. Sounds like, they're all one, just as innocent. Sounds like all the judges agreed is innocent. So they need to pay. They need to pay for the third guy. So you divide up the amount that's owed into three, and 2 out of 3 have to pay. That's what it sounds like from the document. Imagine 2 years later, it comes out that they made a mistake, and all the piece of paper says is innocent. Reuben's innocent. So now what do you do with that? So that sounds like all the judges, they all made the mistake. So So now Lamandam or Ploni Mizak Ploni Mechayvin, so Lo Mishalmi. If it says explicitly, you and you are innocent, you and you are, if the two judges said that he's guilty or innocent, so then there's no need to pay for the third judge because only they made the mistake. Why should they compensate for the third guy? He never made this mistake. So now, Ulamandam or Zakai Mishalmi, according to the first opinion that says if it just says the word Zakai, innocent, the two judges have to pay for the third judge. So they should say V'leimer, they should tell him Ilav ot bahadein lo have salik dinamidi. If not for the fact that you were with us, there would be no judgment over here. So you should have to pay also. You joined us, so you should pay with you. You should join since you joined us. You also have to pay. We should have to compensate for you. Tough luck. That's part of being a judge on a bezdin. If we made a mistake and you end up not making the mistake, you need to pay. So says the Gemara, you're right. Ella a totally different reason why you write down this way. Nothing to do with compensation. Rather, because you can't be a gossiper. It says, Lo selech rachel bi'amecha. You can't walk around gossiping. So now, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zakai Mishum Lo selech rachel. He just says innocent. He doesn't want to specify which judge says what, because that would be gossiping. He just wants to say innocent. Reish Lakish Amar Ploni Mezakin, Ploni Plovin Mechayvin. So apparently Reish Lakish is not worried about gossiping. Interesting. Whatever that disagreement is, he's not worried about that. But he has another reason. Mishum Demaxi Keshikra. It's looking like you're lying. If you just write the word Zakai, it sounds like everyone held the guy was innocent. That's too close to not telling the truth. And you don't want to, you want to be saying truth and be very, very false from saying things that aren't true. If you have to specify, him and him said guilty, he said innocent, that way you're veering away from looking like you're saying false things. Rabbi Lazar, what does he say? He ends up saying that the halach came out from all of them. So Rabbi Lazar, Islay Demar, he agrees to both these opinions. So on the one hand, he can't specify because that would be gossiping. On the other hand, he can't just write down innocent because that looks like it's not true, because it looks like they all agreed the guy's innocent. From all of your words, the conclusion was that the guy's innocent. So meaning from all of your words, it sounds like there was some disagreement, but at the end of the day, the halacha was that he's innocent. So that way he avoids both problems. It doesn't look like a lie, and it doesn't look like a gossiper. Okay, so the Mishnah says after they finished interrogating the witnesses, they bring people in, machnisin. So says who are you bringing in? Sounds like someone was outside, now they're inside. Leman, who are you bringing in? So right, we go, we intimidate the witnesses. And then we send them out, and then one comes back, and then the other one comes back. So it says, who's coming back in? So maybe it sounds like from the Mishnah, the actual litigants were outside, and now they're coming back in. Laman, Ilaim lebali dinim. So Ilaim lebali dinim. So Hasam Kaimi, they're there anyways. They were never sent out. So Ela le'edim. Must be that the witnesses were sent out while the judges were discussing the case. And now we're bringing the witnesses back in. So the question was, somebody's outside during the discussion of the judges. So who is that? So we're saying now it's the witnesses. Says the Gemara, if that's true, so then that's delo ki Rabbi Nassim. That's not like Rabbi Nassim. Why? Why is it not like Rabbi Nassim? Titania, la'olam ein edusan mitzarefes ad sheyiru shnein ke'echad. Okay, this is not necessarily related to us. Rabbi Nassim, the first opinion here holds that you cannot combine testimony unless you saw it at the same time. So you have to see it on Sunday. If one guy comes Sunday, one guy comes Monday about the same exact case, no good. Rabbi Shimon Korcha Omer afilu b'zechar zeh. Reuben comes Sunday and says something, and Shimon comes Sunday about the same exact case. You do combine. Okay. Now what we need, and the witnesses, their testimony is not going to be valid unless they both testify together at the same time. Rabbi Nassan Omer, no, Shomim Dvarav Shal Zeh Hayom, Ukeshiyavo Chaver Lamachar Shomin Es Dvarav. You can hear one witness's testimony on Sunday, and hear a second person's testimony on Monday, and that's going to be fine. So the Gemara assumes now that this is not like Reb Nassan, because originally that we're bringing in the witnesses. It sounds like you first heard, you kicked one guy out and you heard his witness, and then it sounds like you heard the other guy's testimony, and then you discussed it. So according to Reb Nassan, you have to hear them together. You can't hear them. Yeah, it sounds like you heard one without the other. So I'm a little confused for a second, because each witness's testimony, has to be in some way, shape, or form. It can't be heard by the other witness, right? Because the whole point is you want them both to come to the same conclusion, right? So, but I guess they're both there in the court, and one is maybe across the room, so he doesn't hear the other guy. But I guess they're both there in the court. To kick a guy out and then listen to his testimony, apparently that would be a contradiction to Reb Nassan, and we're assuming that the halacha is like Reb Nassan, that you have to have both of them testify together. I'm just saying, I don't think it means together. So one guy has to hear the other guy. That's not what it means. It has to be in the same. Right, because it can't be that they're hearing each other's. Right. So therefore, what? So then the Gemara assumes that in our case, where there's one witness that came, and then all of a sudden a second witness came, and now they're bringing both witnesses in together, but it sounds like they came at different times. That's the Gemara's assumption. If they came at different times and they're coming in, so then that's not like Reb Nassan. Says the Gemara, no. Really, the witnesses were there. They were there together in the same sitting. Rather, they're bringing in the Balei Dinim, the litigants. And Rabbi Nechemia, it goes like Rabbi Nechemia. What did Rabbi Nechemia say? The Tanya Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Kach Haya Min Hagam Shal Nekiya Das B'Yushalayim. This was the practice of the cleaner of the people that were avoided aveiros. They avoided sin. They were the clean ones, the ones who try to keep things on the highest level. Nekiya Das B'Yushalayim. What would they do? Machnisin lebalei dinin. They would bring in the litigants, the showman divrain. They would listen to them, and then sounds like then they would machnisin as edim. Then they would bring in the witnesses and hear what they had to say. The showman divrain. Umotzino san lachutz. They would have everyone leave. V'nosin, and then they would discuss the matter. And after they finished discussing, then they would bring them in. So that would go well with Rabbi Nechemia, where they would kick the litigants out, and then they would bring them back in. Okay. The Hatanya, it says, Gomru es hadavar machnisin es ha'edim. It sounds like when they finished discussing the matter, they would bring in the witnesses. So, and not bring in the litigants. Says the Gemara, you're right. Hahi delo Reb Nassan. That part of the Mishnah ends up like we thought originally, is not like Reb Nassan. So because according to Reb Nassan, you had to hear both of the testimonies at the same time, or somewhat close together. In this case, it sounds like we heard one after another, and then we brought them both in, and therefore, it's not like Reb Nassan. Okay, Gufa. Back to what we just said before. La'olam ein edusim misterefes ad sheyiru shneim ke'echad. You cannot combine a testimony unless you both saw them at once. Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha Omer, no, afilu b'zechar zeh. Come Sunday, come Monday, it's fine. So what's that machlokas? Either we argue about how to interpret the verse, or we argue in logic. If you say it's logic, that if they're arguing over a certain logic, what's the logic? So Almana de Kamasid Hai, Lo Kamasid Hai. Reuven comes on Sunday. A witness comes on Sunday and says, Reuven owes Shimon $100. And then a witness comes on Monday and says, Reuven owes Shimon $100. The $100 that he was testifying on Sunday is not the same $100 that he was testifying on Monday. It's different. It's a different $100. So it's not exactly the same case. So yeah, Amana de Kamasid Hai, Lo Kamasid. The one that the first witness testified on is not the same mana as as the second witness testified on. So Amana de Kamasid Hai, Lo Kamasid Hai. Umana de Kamasid Hai, Lo Kamasid Hai. I owe you $100. It's a different $100 on Sunday than it was on Monday. The idach, what's the other opinion hold? This wasn't this specific $100. It was the general debt of $100. But idach, amana ba'alma, travayu kamisadi. They're both testifying on a general $100. So that's why that's not considered a one testimony. So either that's the machlokas or v'ibais ema kra. The following is the machlokas. Dichsiv. The verse says v'hu aid o ra o yada. If you're a witness and you saw or you know. So now, what does aid mean? So let's see. Vitanya mimash shenemar lo yakum aid. In another place, the Torah says a witness cannot get up to testify. It says lo yakum aid. So it says lo yakum aid achad. Really, the verse says one witness can't testify. It says the Gemara, the word aid is singular. So why does the Torah tell me one witness? The word witness is singular. It means one. So Eini Odea Shu Echad. Obviously, I know that it's one. So Matam Alomer, what's it teaching me? Teach me the following. Matam Alomer Echad. What does it mean? Why does it tell me Echad? Ze Bana Av. This is the general rule. Kol Malkom Shenamar Aid. Whenever the Torah says the word witness, it's not referring to one witness. It's referring to one group of witnesses. It's really referring to two witnesses. They're considered one group. Harei Kan Shnayim. Unless the Torah tells you, Achi Paril Chakasav Echad. Unless it tells you one. If it tells you one, it's referring to only one witness. But if it just says the word witness, aid, even though it's a singular, it's referring to two witnesses. So now, the Afke Rachmana Balashon Chad. So now, in our case where it says the who aid, where a guy is a witness, and he has to see the who aid or ra or yada. If he doesn't go testify, then he bears sin. So the Afke Rachmana, the Torah used Balashon Chad, Lemeimar, Ad the Chazi Travayu Kichad. So yeah, the Torah says Vahu. It says Vahu aid. So it says it used there in the singular to teach you what does it mean Vahu aid? Why did you use that language to say Vahu aid? To teach you until they both saw, until you both have to see. You have to see it together. Until you see it together, so it's not considered a good testimony. Yeah, so Rashi explains that we already know that we're talking about two witnesses. And then the Torah repeats itself and it says, this witness, if he saw or knows about the case, then and he doesn't testify, he bears sin. So we already know that we're talking about witnesses. So why did it say that? To teach you that they have to both see it together. You have to see it as one. What does the other opinion hold? The idach, the hu aid o ra o yada mikol makom. Even if you saw or you know, so even if I saw something happen, I can come on Sunday and testify, and the other I can come on Monday and testify. That's fine, as long as we both know about the case, or we both saw the case. We don't need to see it together. Yeah. Well, okay. We both need to come together and testify. Together in one bezdin, in one sitting. Rabbi Nasan Omer, Shomin Dvarav Shal Zeh Hayom, Ukeshava Chaver Lamachar, Shomin Dvarav. And when the friend comes tomorrow, we can hear his words. Meaning you don't have to be in one sitting. You can be in different sittings. So now, what do they argue about? Either they're arguing about logic or they're arguing about a pasuk. If they're arguing about logic, Mar Savar Eid Echad. It says Eid Echad. So now, Ki Asi L'Shvua Asi. But L'Mamona Lo Asi. Listen, one witness is nothing. If you come on Sunday to try to get money after somebody, that's a zero. You can only come to make a guy make a shvua, but you can't take money out of his pocket. So, Ve'idach atu, Ve'idach, and what's the other opinion hold? Atu ki asu b'hadi adadi b'chad puma kamesadi, ela mitzarfen lehu, hachanami litzarfinu. So, listen, when two witnesses are anyways making a testimony, so they're not saying it with one mouth, right? You're taking one guy's words and then another guy's words. And what do? And then you combine them. 1 + 1. Now you have two witnesses. So to here, I'll do the same thing. I'll have one on Sunday and one on Monday. And I can combine them. I can combine them as two testimonies. So no problem. That logic is a good logic. Maybe you'll say it's a pasuk. The pasuk says, if you don't go and share your testimony, then you will bear sin. So, so now, with the Kuli Alma, so I guess they argue about this pasuk. So I guess we're going to see right now, if time. With the Kuli Alma, Kira Banan de Pligi Leder of Yeshua ben Korcha, the Hacha Ba'akushe Hagadol L'Re'iyah Kamifligi, Mar Savar Makshinan Hagadol L'Re'iyah, Mar Savar Lo Makshinan. The question is that for sure you have to come and you have to see it at the same time. The question is, do you compare seeing to testifying or not? If you compare the two,